Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are strapping in for something that is honestly a little bit overwhelming, but in the absolute best way possible.
Yeah, this is a big one.
It really is. We are opening up the files on the Ground Effect Racing League, the GRL, specifically the 10th season on F125. And look, if you're thinking, okay, racing, fast cars, whoever crosses the line first wins, you really need to pause that thought right now.
Oh, yeah. It's so much more complicated than that.
So much more, because we have a mountain of data here. I'm talking 7 different divisions of drivers, 15 full rounds of racing, and one massive overarching leaderboard that tells a story of, dominance, heartbreak, and in one case, utter collapse.
It really is a fascinating ecosystem. When you look at a league like the GRL, especially when it hits a milestone like Season 10, you aren't just looking at a group of friends driving around a virtual track. No. You are looking at this incredibly complex competitive hierarchy. We've got the finalized driver standings for Division 1 all the way down to Division 7. And maybe more importantly, we have the round-by-round evolution of the overall Constructors' Championship, the OCC.
And that OCC.
That's where the real war is fought.
Exactly. And that is our mission today. We are going to decode Season 10. We aren't just going to read you a list of names and say, congratulations. That's boring.
Right. Anyone can do that.
We want to know how they won. We want to trace the narrative arcs, the early dominance, the mid-season slumps that completely destroyed championship hopes, and those razor-thin finishes where a single point defined an entire season.
And the so what here is, I think, really crucial. Why should you, listening at home, care about the intricacies of, say, Division 4 or Division 6?
So what's the hook?
It's because in this league, depth matters just as much as elite speed. Individual driver performance feeds into this massive machine that is the overall Constructors' Championship. You can have the fastest driver in the world in Division 1, but if your Division 7 driver is putting it in the wall every single week, your team loses. It's that simple.
It is the ultimate team sport disguised as an individual one. And just to tease the main storyline we are going to unpack, we are looking at a season pretty much defined by a titan clash between Ferrari and Sauber.
Oh, yeah.
But there's also this massive mid-season surge from Williams that kind of came out of nowhere, and arguably the most heartbreaking championship finish I have ever seen in Division 3, decided by 2. Measly points.
It's unbelievable when you look at the numbers. And, of course, the mystery of Aston Martin.
Oh, we have to talk about Aston Martin. We can't not. It is the elephant in the room.
The ghost of the feast, yeah.
But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start with the Holy Grail. The overall Constructors' Championship, the OCC.
This is the one, this is the trophy every team principal wants on their mantle. It aggregates points across all the tiers. So you have drivers in 7 different divisions, all of them contributing to one big pot.
So it's not just about having a superstar, it's about having no weak links.
Exactly. Depth is everything.
Okay, so take us back to the start. Round 1. New season, fresh hopes, everyone's on 0 points. What did the landscape look like?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. Because if you only looked at a snapshot of round 1, you would have bet your house on a completely different outcome for the season.
Oh, really?
In round 1, Aston Martin came out swinging. They absolutely topped the charts with 136 points. They narrowly, and I mean narrowly, edged out Ferrari, who had 134.
Okay, so Aston Martin starts as the leader. They're the early pace setters.
Precisely. They looked organized. They looked like they had the depth we were just talking about. Mercedes was sitting in 3rd with 90 points. Williams and McLaren were tied at 84.
And what about Sauber? You mentioned they were a big part of the story. Where were they?
This is the crazy part. Sauber. They were down in 10th place. Last. With only 48 points.
Wait. Sauber was last.
Dead last. In round 1, they were at the very bottom of the table.
That is wild, considering where we know they end up. Okay, so Aston Martin is on top of the world. But that glory, it didn't last long, did it?
Not at all. Round 2 happens. And this is what we're calling the Ferrari takeover.
Okay.
Round 2 just changed everything. Ferrari immediately flipped the script. They jumped to a massive lead, accumulating 278 total points. Aston Martin slipped to 2nd with 229. But look at that gap.
Yeah, that's not small.
In round 1, it was a 2-point difference. By the end of round 2, Ferrari had already opened up a nearly 50-point gap.
That is immediate consistency kicking in. They didn't just win, they swarmed the points across all divisions.
That's the perfect word for it. They swarmed. And by round 4, the order was, let's say it was effectively established for the time being. Ferrari sat pretty at 463 points. Aston Martin was still holding on to 2nd with 366, but
they were now trailing by almost 100 points.
Exactly. The narrative here is Ferrari's immediate, incredible consistency across the vertical. From Division 1 all the way down to Division 7, the red cars were finishing races and scoring big.
So it already feels like Ferrari is running away with it early on. But you mentioned Sauber. They started dead last in round 1. How did they get back into this fight so quickly?
Well, round 5 is the pivotal moment. This is what we're calling the mid-season shift.
Okay.
By round 5, Sauber had executed this phenomenal recovery. I mean, it's just a straight line up on the graph. They jumped into second place with 476 points, overtaking Aston Martin, who had 440.
So Aston Martin are already starting to slide.
They're sliding, and this is the beginning of the primary duel of the season.
Yeah.
It's Ferrari versus the field, and Sauber is leading that charge.
So Aston Martin is sliding backwards, Sauber is rocketing upwards, and Ferrari is just cruising out front.
Cruising might be too light a word. They were dominating. But there's another twist coming. A big one. Round 9.
This must be the Williams surge.
This is a major aha moment when we were looking at the data. By round 9, Williams pulls off this stunning maneuver. They just leapfrog everyone. They jump into second place with 1,002 points.
1,000 points.
And in doing so, they push Sauber down to third, who had 963.
That is a huge swing. Williams crossing the 1,000-point mark and splitting that Ferrari-Sauber fight that was just developing.
It was a massive statement. But notice something else in that round 9 data. Ferrari crossed the 1,000-point barrier first. They were sitting pretty at 1,102 points.
So they're still 100 points clear.
Exactly. They were maintaining a comfortable cushion, but it wasn't invincible. A couple of bad race weeks for Ferrari and a couple of great ones for Williams or Sauber, and that gap closes right up.
Okay, so that takes us to the final stretch. Rounds 10 through 15. This is where champions are made, right? The business end of the season.
It is. And the battle for silver, for second place, became the main event because, frankly, Ferrari was just too strong. In round 10, the very next race, Sauber reclaimed second place. They had 1,096 points over Williams' 1,088.
That is razor thin. 8 points separating second and third after 10 full rounds of racing across 7 divisions.
It's unbelievable. It just shows how incredibly evenly matched their depth was. Every single point mattered.
So how did it all shake out in the end?
As we move to the conclusion, by the final round, round 15, Ferrari secured the title with a staggering 1,767 points.
1,767. That's a dynasty score. That's a statement.
It's an average of over 117 points per round for the entire team. It's just relentless.
Wow. And the fight for second?
Sauber managed to hold on. They finished second with 7,702 points, holding off a really relentless Williams, who finished with 1,644.
So the podium is Ferrari, Sauber, Williams, a hard-fought battle. But we have to address the also-rans. You mentioned Aston Martin started round 1 in first place. Where on earth did they end up?
This is the dramatic collapse we teased at the start. It's almost hard to believe. Aston Martin dropped from first in round 1 to finishing dead last in round 15 with 102 points.
From first to last. That is, I don't even have a word for that. Catastrophic.
It's the definition of a season just completely falling apart at the seams. They scored 136 points in round 1. In the remaining 14 rounds, they averaged, something like 60 points a round. They just lost all momentum.
And what about a team like Red Bull? You expect them to be up there.
Another team that really struggled, they finished way down in 8th with 11,178 points. But really, the Aston Martin story is the cautionary tale of Season 10.
It really makes you wonder what was going on in those garages. The morale must have just cratered. Okay, so Ferrari takes the big trophy, but the OCC is built on the backs of individual drivers. We need to go to the pinnacle. We have to talk about Division 1.
The varsity team, the fastest of the fast, the best of the best.
And we had a proper championship fight here. This wasn't a runaway. It was Jay Snowy in the Sauber versus RSC Tsubi in the Ferrari.
This is a classic duel. Absolutely brilliant to watch. In the end, Jay Snowy takes the crown for Sauber with 205 points.
So Sauber gets the driver's title in the top division.
They do. And if you analyze his success, the one word that just keeps coming up is consistency. Look at his early rounds. Third in Great Britain, second in the USA, first in the Netherlands, third in Canada, second in Azerbaijan.
So he was just always on the podium, always in the mix.
Always. Just racking up the points week in, week out. And a really crucial win in round 6 in the USA again. Jay Snowy was just a machine. He was always there.
But then you have the runner-up, and this is a heartbreaking story. Tsubi in the Ferrari, 193 points, finished just 12 points behind.
This is the big what-if story of the season, I think, because Tsubi had these incredibly high highs. I'm talking wins in round 1, round 5, round 7, round 8, round 9.
Wait, hold on, 5 wins.
5 wins. Jason Noe only had, I think, 2 or 3 wins, depending on how you count the sprints. You could make a very strong argument that Tsubi was the faster driver on raw pace, but, and it's a huge but, look at round 11 and round 12.
I'm looking at the chart right now. Round 11, Belgium. OUT. Round 12, Hungary. OUT.
2 DNFs. Did not finish. Back-to-back, right in the crucial middle stage of the season. That is 50 potential points just gone down the drain.
Oh, that's brutal.
This is the classic speed versus reliability story. Tsubi was faster on his day, but Jason Noe finished the races. And that's what won the championship.
That is just heartbreaking. 2 bad Sundays, and the championship is gone. And we can't ignore the 3rd place finisher either, Krabs in the Williams.
No, you can't. Krabs was right there the whole time. Finished with 187 points. That is only 6 points behind Tsubi in second.
Only 6 points.
And just 18 behind the winner. A very strong finish to the season 1, round 14 in Qatar. Kept them in the hunt right to the end. I mean, if the season was 2 races longer, who knows? Krabs might have snatched it.
It really shows that in Div 1, you cannot afford a single mistake. One DNF can cost you everything. Now, looking a bit further down the midfield in Div 1, did anyone else stand out to you?
I was looking at AMS Nardo for Red Bull. He finished 4th with 162 points, which is very respectable. But the interesting thing is how he got there. He started really slow with an 8th place finish, but then he found a serious rhythm later on. He got wins in round 12 in Hungary and round 13 in Bahrain.
A late bloomer.
Exactly. If Nardo had found that pace back in round 1, we might be talking about a 4-way title fight right now.
And what about the other Ferrari, the champion's teammate?
Cintium. He finished 7th. And he's sort of the cautionary tale of inconsistency in the division. He won round 2, looked like a real contender, but then had multiple OUT results later on, Canada, Belgium, Bahrain. It just completely killed his momentum.
It seems like OUT is the scariest word in the GRL dictionary. It's not just 0 points for the race, it's a total momentum killer.
It absolutely is.
And speaking of the struggle, looking at the bottom of the Div 1 table, man, it is rough down there.
It's a high attrition rate. You see drivers like Revolver and Milan really struggling to get points on the board. And it just highlights how difficult Division 1 is. If you're off the pace by just 0.3 of a second a lap, you aren't just second, you are 15th.
Or you're pushing so hard to keep up that you end up in the wall.
Exactly. It's a brutal, brutal environment.
Okay, let's move down the ladder. But often the racing gets even closer and more intense as we go down. Let's talk Division 2 and Division 3.
So Division 2, this is the Alpine Ascendancy. Blade, driving for Alpine, absolutely dominated this year. Finished with 211 points.
Hold on, 211. That's a higher score than the Div 1 winner.
It is, yeah. Blade was a late-season monster. If you look at the streak from round 10 onwards, Italy, Belgium, Hungary.
Yeah.
It's second, 9th, second, 7th, and then a win in the final round in Brazil. Just absolutely raking in the points when it mattered.
So who is the main challenger here? The Ferrari fighter.
That was Jamie. Finished second for Ferrari with 178 points. Jamie had a really strong start, wins in round 4 in Canada and round 5 in Azerbaijan. But then, there's always a but then, round 8 Austria, an 18th place finish.
Ouch. 18th.
That is essentially a DNF in terms of points. That one bad result really, really hurt the campaign against a machine like Blade. The gap at the end was 33 points, which is a fairly comfortable margin for the winner.
Right. Unlike Division 3.
Oh, Division 3. If you only watch one division's highlights from this season, make it this one. This is the thriller of the entire GRL season.
The headline here is just, it's unbelievable. The top 3 drivers are separated by only 3 points. 3 after 15 races.
It's absurdly close. It's statistically improbable. The champion by the skin of his teeth is Bolt in the McLaren with 173 points.
Okay, so how did Bolt pull it off? What was the magic formula?
The path to victory was a late-season blitz, an absolutely clutch performance. Wins in round 12 in Hungary, round 13 in Bahrain, and round 14 in Qatar.
A hat-trick of wins at the very end.
A hat-trick. Right when the pressure was at its absolute highest, he just came alive.
But you have to feel for the other guys. Spare a thought for Sagame in the Racing Bulls. Finished second with 171 points.
That's the title by 2 points. 2
points. That is 1 overtake. That is the difference between finishing 5th and 4th in one race months ago.
It's the difference between getting the fastest lap point or not getting it. Sagame was so consistent all year. I think he had 7 podiums. But Bolt's peak, those 3 wins at the end, just snatched it away from him.
And what about the third driver in this incredible fight, SMD Viper in the Sauber?
Viper finished third with 170 points, one single point behind Sagame, 3 points behind the champion, Bolt.
Unbelievable.
And Viper had wins in Canada, and then in Brazil, the final round of the season, Viper won the last race of the season.
Oh my God, imagine that. You win the final race in Brazil, you're crossing the line, celebrating, and then your engineer comes on the radio and tells you you lost the championship by 3 points because Bolt managed to finish fourth.
That is the definition of competitive racing. A single corner, a single penalty, a single strategy call from a race back in May could have changed the entire podium order here.
I love that. That's why we watch this sport. Okay, let's go deeper. Divisions 4 and 5. This is what you call dominance in the lower tiers.
Yeah, and Division 4 is where we found the season's highest individual point scorer.
We have a record breaker.
It looks like it. Sam, in the Sauber, 234 points.
Whoa. 234.
234. That appears to be the highest individual driver score across all 7 divisions we've analyzed.
That is just pure, unadulterated domination.
It really is. I mean, look at the wins. Round 3 in the Netherlands, Round 4 in Canada, Round 5 in Azerbaijan. It's a hat trick right there. Plus another win in Round 8 in Austria. Sam was almost never off the podium.
And we need to connect this back to the OCC, don't we? This is exactly why Sauber was able to fight Ferrari for the overall title.
Precisely. This is the perfect example. When your Div 4 driver is bringing home 234 points, that covers up a lot of mistakes or weaker performances elsewhere in the team. Sam was a point-sprinting machine for Sauber.
And the chaser in Div 4, just AL and the Mercedes, had 174 points, which in any other context is a fantastic score.
You're exactly right. In Division 3, 174 points would have won the title. In Division 4, it was 60 points adrift of Sam. That just shows you how much of an outlier Sam's performance truly was.
Incredible stuff. What about Division 5? Was it another runaway?
It was a great Sauber versus Haas duel here, actually. Ted Head for Sauber took the win with 199 points. So again, Sauber showing incredible strength in these middle tiers.
And you can see his wins, R3, R5, R6, R7. That is a dominant midseason block that just built his lead.
It really was. But Haas had a hero here too. WAOF1 Hayes took second with 171 points.
So Haas showing some life. They weren't a top-tier team overall, but they had pockets of real talent.
They did. But, and it's a theme, look at Hayes' chart. Round 8, Austria, OUT. Round 10, Italy, OUT. Those 2 DNFs, they likely cost Hayes a real shot at the title against the ultra-consistent Ted Head.
Again, reliability deciding championships. It's everywhere.
You have to finish to win. It's the oldest rule in motorsport.
It certainly is. Okay, let's go to the bedrock of the league. Divisions 6 and 7, the depth charges, as you called them.
And Division 6 is where we find Ferrari's secret weapon.
Ooh, do tell.
A driver named Barna, driving for Ferrari, scored 227 points.
227. That is right up there with Sam's incredible score in Div 4.
It is the second highest score of the entire lead, and this right here is the key to the OCC. Remember, Ferrari won the Constructors' title. Why? Because while Tsubi was fighting for his life and just missing out in Div 1, Barna was absolutely crushing Division 6.
That makes so much sense. It's the hidden engine room of their championship. If you have a driver in Div 6 who is basically guaranteeing you 20-plus points every single week, that gives your whole team such a buffer.
It's an enormous advantage. Barna had wins in Round 2, Round 5, Round 6, Round 7, Round 9. Just unstoppable. The runner-up, Restored Panda in the Williams, had a very good season with 177 points. But that was a 50-point gap to the winner. Barna was just in a league of their own.
So that's Ferrari's depth. What about the other teams? And finally, Division 7.
Division 7 was the Williams bright spot. Genchi took the Div 7 title for Williams with 169 points.
Okay, so we talked about that Williams surge in the OCC earlier. A driver like Genchi must have been a huge part of that climb.
A massive part. Genchi had wins in Round 4, Round 5, and a really crucial late-season win in Round 13 in Bahrain. That consistent performance from the lowest tier helped Williams secure that podium spot in the OCC, fighting off teams like Racing Bulls and McLaren.
It all connects, and I see a Haas in second place here too, showing some more depth for them.
Yep, Tom SRV for Haas finished with 122 points. It shows that Haas had some decent strength in the lower tiers, even if their overall points total wasn't enough to challenge the big 3 constructors.
So we've looked at all the data, we've seen the stories, the arcs of triumph and failure. Now let's synthesize this. Let's try and figure out what the formula for success was in GRL Season 10.
I think if we look at the good phases versus the bad phases, a really clear pattern emerges. The winners capitalized on momentum. Look at Bolt in Div 3, that incredible late-season surge, those 3 wins from R12 to R14. won him the tightest title.
Get hot at the right time.
Exactly. Or look at Ferrari in the OCC. That early blitz in rounds 2 through 6 built them a lead that ultimately was unassailable.
So it's either get ahead and stay ahead, or peak at the perfect moment.
Or, in the case of drivers like Sam in Div 4 and Barna in Div 6, just be better than everyone else every single week. That's the third path. Sustained season-long dominance.
And the bad phases, what's the lesson there?
They're just tragic, and they're a warning. You look at Aston Martin in the OCC, that catastrophic slide from leading the championship to finishing last. It shows that if you don't adapt, or if your drivers lose confidence, the slide is almost impossible to stop. It just snowballs.
And on a micro level, you look at Tsubi in Div 1, the double OUT.
All the speed in the world is nothing without the checkered flag.
So if we had to write a recipe for the overall Constructors' Championship win, why did Ferrari win? What was the secret sauce?
It wasn't just one-star driver. It was the vertical integration. It was Barna dominating Div 6 and scoring 227 points, plus Tsubi fighting for P1 in Div 1 and getting 193 points, plus Jamie fighting for P1 in Div 2 and getting 178 points. It was a total team effort. Every single division contributed heavy points.
It's a machine with no weak parts.
Pretty much.
And Sauber's P2, what was their story?
Theirs was a story driven by two massive pillars. Jay Snowy, the Div 1 champion, and Sam, the Div 4 champion. They carried the team with those huge points hauls, but maybe they just lacked the consistent depth in some of the other divisions that Ferrari had.
And Williams is P3. How did they get on the podium?
Williams was driven by depth, but in a different way. Krabs in Div 1 was very strong, finishing P3, and Genshi in Div 7 was a champion. They had big points coming from both the very top and the very bottom of the spectrum.
It is fascinating to see how the different team strategies, or maybe it's just the luck of the driver draft, played out over a whole season.
It really is. It's a chess match played at 200 miles an hour.
So what does this all mean for us? For the learner listening in, what's the final takeaway?
I think the provocative thought to leave with is about resilience and margins. First, reflect on that Aston Martin collapse. How does a team start round 1 with the most points and end the season at the absolute bottom? Was it complacency? Was it a string of bad luck? Or was the competition just that fierce that one slip-up sends you tumbling?
It's a terrifying thought for any team manager. And on the other side of that coin,
You have to reflect on the razor-thin margins in Division 3. Does Sagam, who lost by 2 points, look back at a single corner in round 5 that cost him a position? Does SMD Viper wake up in the middle of the night thinking about a botched pit stop back in round 8?
every single action has a consequence that ripples through the whole season.
In a 15-race season, every lap matters. And I think that's the real beauty of league racing. It's not just about the fastest car on the fastest day. It is about surviving the season.
Absolutely. It is a marathon run at sprint speeds.
And that is why we love it.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into GRL Season 10. A huge congratulations to Ferrari for that massive OCC win. And of course to Jay Snowy, Blade, Bolt, Sam, Tedhead, Barna, and Genshi for their incredible individual driver titles.
And commiserations to the runners-up, especially in Division 3. You made it an incredible season to watch and to analyze.
We absolutely cannot wait to see what Season 11 brings. Will Aston Martin bounce back? Will Williams take that next step and challenge for the title? We'll be watching. Thanks for listening, and keep diving deep.
See you on the track.